Hey, hello everyone. My name is Matthew. I'm on the Geekdom staff. And the Geekdom staff, since we've gone virtual last week, has had the opportunity to work with some members, a couple of them that are already in here. For our first series, our first event for our online workshop series is with Alberto Pina from Braustin Homes. And
what's going on, y'all?
We'll be doing these workshops hopefully twice a week. I see Crystal Darby, who's one of our next speakers next week on the call as well. So let's just be respectful, of course, of Alberto, who's will be sharing his tips and tricks on working remote as all of us go through this transition. And I'll go ahead and pass it off to him. And if anybody through this process has any questions or has any support issues, don't hesitate to email me at matthewgeekdom.com. But I'll go ahead and pass it over to Alberto.
I appreciate it, Matt, and definitely appreciate you guys setting this all up. As we all know, the last couple of weeks have been a little rowdy, and all signs point to it getting a little wilder before we get back to some semblance of normal. But one thing that's been really awesome to watch, and I see a lot of the people on this call right now. The RAM building is shut down, but Geekdom is not a building; it's a community. And really, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen our community stepping up with folks like Dale helping the school system figure out how to do e-learning. Him and Drew and Can Opener and their whole team figuring out how to 3D print medical supplies. Crystal's already helped us with the whole SBA thing. I know she's doing a seminar here in a bit. Iris willing to share her experience. She's going to be doing an Ask Me Anything later on this week, and just the community as a whole really stepping up to all get through this together. And we will at some point all get through this together. But for now, we, for the most part, are all at home. So are our customers. And so we need to figure out how we interact and adapt to this new remote environment. For us at Braustin, we started really as a remote first team about 3 years ago, in that we help families shop and buy homes pretty much all online and over the phone. So we don't actually meet a lot of our customers face to face. And that's continuing to be the case as we go through this. So we certainly don't have all the answers, but we know a thing or two about interacting with folks, continuing to drive revenue for a business, which is super important at a time like this. And then more than anything, making sure that customers are happy and satisfied when it's all said and done. The two things we're going to talk about today, and we'll talk briefly and then open it up for questions so we can help anybody that's struggling with one thing or another. But how do you stay organized with the team, keep everybody on track, keep everybody motivated, focused, and then how do you engage with customers to build relationships with them, and at some point exchange services for money so you can keep your business going. And really on both fronts, the common theme across this is communication, right? Communication is super important for driving a team, super important for driving revenue and keeping customers happy. And remote does not mean we have to stop communicating. We just can't do that in person. So some of the things we're going to talk about, we're going to share some of the tools that we're using. And especially at a time like this, everybody's got to keep costs to a minimum, right? So we're a bootstrap business. We know how to get a lot with a little. And so we'll share some of the tools we've been using to do this, that all in all cost less than $100 a month. So I wanted to start on the team side, because really until the team is able to function to deliver whatever it is we're promising customers, we don't really want sales at that point, because then we're setting ourselves up for failure. And so for us, we use a number of tools to help with communication on the team side. And the easiest one is something we all have, which is our phones, right? We're all sheltered in place here in Texas, but that doesn't mean we have to quit texting or calling. And that's super effective. I think now more than ever, hearing somebody's voice, whether it's for a customer or team member, is going to be going to be a big thing because we're all kind of stuck in this together, and we as humans just like to interact and be social. So the phone, first and foremost, you know, calling people, scheduling conference calls, that sort of thing. You know, this doesn't have to be super high tech to be effective. For us, we use Zoom as well, what we're using now for our morning trainings. We do a training every morning as a team, 10 to 11. And then Mondays is kind of my time to interact with the team. And we just find that Zoom and seeing each other's faces helps us be a little more in tune. We can interact in real time. And for us, that's super effective, 1 hour a day. Beyond that, we want to make sure that we are allowing our team members to do what they have to do freely and independently of everybody else. And that's really one of the biggest pluses of remote work, is that productivity, once all the panic goes away, productivity really goes up, right? Just driving alone, we're all probably saving an hour of our day. But for productivity to go up, we've really got to set our team members up to do what they've got to do without the constant interruptions, and without ending up doing what somebody else had on their to-do list, if that makes sense. So for us, one of the things we try to eliminate are just those constant interruptions. So we may not text each other at certain periods during the day. We, as a team, pick a couple times during the day to read emails, and then other than that, we're back doing what we already have planned out. And we use a very old school method of creating to-do lists so that we can stay focused individually and as a team on what we want to do and not let those interruptions kind of drive our day. We use a Franklin Covey day planner. That thing's probably been around for 50 plus years. It's old school pen and paper, but it is extremely effective. And if there's a situation where internet goes down or something like that, you still, if you're using it, have your day planned out in your cell phone and can continue to operate that way. So we're all using the old school Franklin Covey day planner. We use a number of tools to coordinate on projects and to-do lists as a team when there's projects that have multiple people involved. So for instance, on the marketing side, we're going to use Basecamp, which is relatively inexpensive. You pay on a monthly subscription, and if you don't end up wanting it after this, you can cancel down the road. But we use Basecamp to set up tasks, to set up to-do lists, to keep people on track of what needs doing and where each other is at on the project. And then we also use that at times when we're strategizing and thinking of what we're going to do next. The benefit of Basecamp that we really like, especially on the marketing side, you know, some of us are morning people, some are night people, some are more productive in the afternoon. And whereas text message or something like Slack wants immediate feedback, you know, Basecamp allows us to really digest what the other person is saying, to really think about what we're going to say, and then give a little more thought out feedback than having to respond, you know, in a matter of seconds. So we use that to keep track of products or programs on the front end, strategies and whatnot, for marketing, for content, all that sort of stuff. On the sales side, when we're dealing with project management for our customers, we found that Trello is extremely effective on that side of our operation and staying in touch with the people that drive that part of our business. I believe we use a free account on Trello, so that's not costing us anything. But what that allows you to do is set up the workflow in whatever way makes sense for you and your business, right? Every business is going to be different. The execution of a project for a customer is going to look different for everybody. And so with Trello, you have the freedom and flexibility to set up different tabs and different workflows that make sense for your business. We use it a lot when we're dealing with customer projects so that we can see pictures of what's going on, give those pictures and that feedback to customers. And just like Basecamp, it allows everybody to interact independently of each other while keeping the entire organization on track. So at any point, if you know, our operation manager works out of Tennessee, so if she updates something and somebody here in San Antonio needs to see it, they can see that whenever they need to without interrupting her workflow and stopping her day to get a question answered. For communication, at least when you're dealing with sales and with customers, it's really important in our mind that the entire sales team stays on the same page. And so for us, a CRM is super critical on that front when we're dealing with inbound sales calls, taking them through the sales process and making sure that as a business, we don't drop the ball when it comes to communicating with them. And just like the other parts, there are a number of people involved, and we wanted a system that allowed everybody to be on the same page, but still operate independently. And so we use Pipedrive, which I think is $12 a user. If you want it to integrate with your email, you can bump it up to maybe 20 bucks a user, but super inexpensive. And the best part of that, we looked at a number of CRMs, and at least for the way we operate, if the sales team is not engaged, then you're not getting the benefit of everybody being on the same page. Of course, the reporting and metrics and all that you can look at down the road. And so for us, our sales team chose Pipedrive because it's like a picture book. Just like Trello, you can set up your sales process whatever way makes the most sense for you and your team. It allows you to just drag and drop boxes as customers move throughout. And then every point of communication can be updated and saved on these individual customer cards. So if somebody takes a day off, or if somebody gets sick, which even once this Corona stuff is out of the way, that's still a very real possibility in the business. And we want to let people take the time to recover without disrupting the process for the customer. So for us, having everybody bought into logging every point of communication with the customer really allows our team to deliver a seamless experience to the customer, whether someone is in or out of the office. And then Google Sheets. There's a number of spreadsheets, a number of things we do for tracking inventory, different things like that. Google Sheets is free, and that's super effective as well. So I think, you know, remote scared a lot of people prior to this, and it might scare a lot of people now, but really remote is just how do you communicate without seeing people face to face? And there are just so many tools. I'm sure I missed a few that are out there that are super inexpensive. And so more than anything, it's just shifting the mindset. How do we communicate effectively without seeing people face to face? If I'm in this person's shoes, what would I want to know or know about at any given point of the process in the business? And then as the business owner, how do I deliver what that person would like to have at a time like this? Which leads us into the customer side of things. And really that's where putting yourself in their shoes is more important than ever, right? Before we built anything at Braustin, we spent a lot of time, and we continue to do this on a regular basis, really trying to put ourselves in the shoes of the customer, to see the world, experience the world through their eyes, and try to figure out what are the pain points in their journey that we can maybe make a couple tweaks or changes to improve that experience for them. And so for us, we sell an actual physical product, and there were plenty of people out there doing e-commerce stuff. And so on the front end, we copied a lot of that. I think, especially in an environment like this, if you're selling something to a customer, this is a very important time now and moving into the future to think about, how do I, as a business, answer customer questions? How do I help them get answers to things they're going to have 6 months before they're ready to buy what I sell, maybe a year before they're ready to buy what I sell, and then of course when they're ready to actually start the buying. And it's really easy, I think, especially nowadays with Amazon, for us to put ourselves in customer shoes, because at this point, the vast majority of us, even before all this, had bought something online, had experienced some form of e-commerce. And I think personally, just a hunch, just a guess, but I think e-commerce is going to become more important moving forward now than ever before. And we're going to see an acceleration of customer adoption of things like Zoom calls and that sort of thing that just wouldn't have happened without this. So whether or not your company is able to go back to business as usual in 2 months, in 6 months, this might be something you start to put some time into, because customer expectations aren't going to necessarily go back when we all open our doors, right? So a lot of it is answering questions. What we've had a lot of success with is just content marketing. And at a time like this, again, you don't need a lot of money, you don't need a lot of technology. We all have cell phones, we can all record videos, we can all put them out. And your videos, I don't know if customers are necessarily expecting them to be, top-notch productions. Starting off, our Facebook Live certainly wasn't that. We have since partnered with White Cloud Drones to do all of our content marketing, and they do an incredible job for us. But it's not necessarily about having the best quality production. It's really about getting stuff out there that answers questions your customers are going to have at a time like this. And every business, again, is going to be different, which means their customers are going to have different questions. So that's really up to you to decide what those questions are, and either put some sort of video, some sort of written content, just something out there to help them answer those questions and engage with your brand at a distance. Once they actually call you, or email you or reach out, then that's where the CRM allows us to deliver a better experience to the customer. Keeping track of the communication, keeping track of what questions are asked, what answers were given, allows us and the customer to stay on track throughout this entire process. Our buying process is a little longer than some of y'all's may be out there. But even if you're, engaged in e-commerce where it's a 10-minute transaction and that customer doesn't talk to you a lot, the CRM helps you to remember what they ordered, which may help you to reach out when you've got a new product along the lines of what they ordered. So I would say finding a way to bring the customer into a CRM to allow any points of communication, anything that the customer is needing, wanting to be there to where your whole team can access it, allows you as a business to deliver a better experience to the customer throughout that journey, whatever that looks like. For customers, I think phone calls and text messages for us have really been just super invaluable. And it's not high tech, and that's not what remote work's really all about. It's about thinking, if I was a customer and I was in this particular point of my journey, what would I want to know? What concerns, what problems would I have? And sometimes picking up the phone for a 5-minute phone call, even if it's just to say, hey, we're waiting on so-and-so over here. Just wanted to let you know we followed up. No news, but wanted to let you know that we're on it. We're thinking of you. We have tried to get you an answer, and we're on top of it. Something like that takes all of 5 minutes. But for customers, especially in a time like this where there's a lot of worry and concern, allows, at least for your business and that relationship with your customer, allows them to put their mind at ease on whatever it is. So cell phone, text, Zoom with customers, if you feel that seeing your face and interacting that way would be more comforting for your customer, is another good tool we use. And there's really no rhyme or reason into what tools we use with who and how. A lot of that is asking the customer, what is it that you want? What is it that will make you feel at ease and give you the best experience throughout this process? And then adapting your deliverable as far as communication as a business to meet what they want, right? At the end of the day, if we are tied to customers, then it really has nothing to do with what we want as a business and what's easy for us. It's all about meeting the customer needs. So some customers may email only, some customers may text only, phone only. Zoom may scare a lot of people. probably a lot less after a time like this. But you got to ask, right? Ask what they want and then deliver what it is they're asking you to do. Pictures on cell phones go a long way if there's some kind of project you're building or some kind of deliverable like that. Even if you're shipping, let's say, t-shirts, taking a picture of what's about to go into the mail, texting that or emailing that to a customer is just another one of those customer touch points and communication points that goes a long way in just getting people excited to continue to interact with your brand. Social media was there well before this. I think a lot of people are stuck at home and we're probably seeing social media use spike in a way we just haven't seen during the day. So that's another great tool, great platform. We did a Facebook Live Monday to just let our customers know and our followers know where we're at as a business, what that means for them. And so that's another free tool that you as a business owner can use to communicate with your customer and help to continue to build that relationship. As far as tools, I think that's really about it. You know, there's always new ones out there. We just started using, well, about a few months ago now, SendSpark out of San Antonio. That's another great tool that if say for us, delivering homes is one of the heights of emotion for our customers. They're about to get their brand new house. And rather than just a boring email or even a text message, you know, SendSpark allows us to record a really quick video from our cell phone or our computer, and then insert that into the email for just a little more humanization of that email and a little more personal touch on the communication. So, you know, for us, we're continuously looking for new tools like that to make this just more enjoyable for our customer. And a lot of that is just humanizing communication from a distance in the way that we would if we were face to face. So we did a Zoom call with my parents last night. You know, these are folks that got a smartphone only when their flip phones stopped working. So I was really excited for them to do that. And of course, our kids love chatting with grandparents, and you know, they're doing virtual hugs and all that. So whatever it is, I think part of it's just having fun with it and realizing that you can do a lot of the same stuff at a distance that you could in person. And it doesn't change all that much. The biggest thing it changes is the dress code. And I think you get a lot more productivity out of it. So if we can, Matt, let's open it up to questions and see if there's anything on people's minds that maybe we can answer for them.
Looks like we have a couple, or we have one already in the chat box. That may be the easiest. So if anybody has any questions, if you're able to put them in the chat.
All right, I see you, Marlon. We can absolutely get that cheat sheet of the apps. We'll just send our whole stack what we're using. Matt, is the best way to get that to you and you get that out to the email list on eBrite, or what's the most effective way to get that out to everybody on the call?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'm working on a Google Doc of some other community things happening that just feel free to share them with me, and I'll share the link here in the chat box here in a minute, and then also email everybody that RSVP'd.
Perfect. All right, K Moss, I know you guys got questions. What can we get answered for you? How did the team member buy in to going remote? That is a great question, especially if you're running a business that wasn't used to this until a couple of weeks ago. You know, for us, we didn't really have a choice, to be perfectly honest. We were a bootstrap business. We started on the 8th floor of Geekdom at a couple of tables, and remote work has just been part of our culture, and it's just part of the business we built. So we've been a remote first team for over 3 years now. Now, if remote work's new to you, how do you get buy-in? I think, you know, that's going to have to start at the top and making it very clear. And again, going back to communication, very clearly communicating. One, at this point, we have no choice, right? So we got to make the best of it. But I think after a couple of weeks, if folks have never worked remote, there's a ton of benefits of doing so that I think are really going to accelerate the adoption of remote work across the entire workforce. And so productivity, definitely one of them for me and our team. I think we find that work-life balance is a little easier with family, especially when we're gaining an extra hour of our life to spend with them instead of driving. But it's definitely not for everybody, that's for sure. But at this point, we don't really have a choice, so we got to make the most of it, right? All right, let me scroll up. Can you elaborate on how you and your team respect each other's time through specific internal tools? How do people manage this, understand this? How do you evaluate performance? That is a phenomenal question. So we plan times throughout the day where we are going to get together and we're going to communicate, and then that's already scheduled out. When they're planning their individual days, for instance, 10 to 11 is our block all day, every day. Our team members don't schedule meetings. We put our phones on do not disturb. We just don't schedule anything from 10 to 11. And then there are individual reviews that Jason, our co-founder, and my brother, that he will schedule probably a week ahead of time with the sales team and let them know, hey, this 30-minute block, we're going to get together and we're going to share each other's screens, go through the CRMs and just that sort of thing. So I think a big part of it with respecting each other's time is we are scheduling times in advance. So it's not a surprise to anybody if we're going to have an all hands meeting that's scheduled several days, a week in advance. And then outside of that, unless it's just a true gotta call you emergency, then we just don't. We use Basecamp or Trello or the CRM to let people know, and then we expect that when people get to it, they're going to get to it. And I think that's part of it. If I send Jason a text message and he doesn't respond for 5 hours, we're okay with that because we know we all have other things going on. And I think one of the biggest switches for us was not expecting that instant, immediate communication. With a lot of the tools, the CRM and the reports that Pipedrive allows you to generate, and then we keep our deal sheet on Google Drive, that allows us to evaluate performance because at any point in time, anybody on the team can go look at it, see where they stand individually, see how they stack up compared to their team members. And we're just constantly all looking at that, which I think drives everybody to do their best work on our team because they know it's front and center for us. Miss Iris, I see, just published an awesome resource. A lot of the tools are already on there, the e-tools and resources. Startup San Antonio continues to be an awesome resource for our community during this time. And I think Friday, she's going to be doing an Ask Me Anything to share a lot of her experience, not in startups, but in dealing with pandemics and in the job she had previously. So definitely we're checking that out. I'll take a look at that article, see if there's anything different we use, and then get that up to Matt. Miss Monica, working remote can be more productive than in the office, 100% agree. And important not to burn yourself out without going full steam without some scheduled breaks like eating a lunch. I 100% agree with that. And that is one of the potential drawbacks of remote work. I am certainly guilty of that. You're in your home environment and it's really easy to just work through lunch, really easy to just work all day and you realize you've put in 10 hours and you haven't even got up to walk around. So, one thing we encourage is just like we schedule team meetings is scheduling something in your day that works for you. Whether it's a jog around the neighborhood, one of the reasons that I like to work 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is because it allows me to shut off when my kids get home from school, hang out with them, do the whole family dinner thing more often than not, and then pick up where I left off. So strongly agree with that statement. You got to schedule breaks where you do run the risk of burning yourself out. All right. Marlon, how do we get government entities and offices to transition, including remote platforms for businesses communication moving forward? I don't have the answer to that. A dear family friend of ours who worked for the government and continues to do so in a different fashion now that she's retired, that they do a lot of remote work. Now that's on the medical side, so I don't know how that plays into everything else. But I think if just like everything, if it's smart, starts grassroots, and that's what we all want, and then that's how we communicate with city council and mayor at a time like this, then maybe that's one of those things that sticks around when we're all past this. All right, Henry, while using Zoom, what must the customer have to access Zoom at their home, and are there tips to enhance the experience? It's an awesome question. One of the things we are trying to figure out now, so one thing we don't like about Zoom with customers is that it forces them to download something. So we are looking into freeconferencecall.com. I believe there's a couple others out there that don't force that. And so when we're thinking about communication, it's really how do I grease the wheels to get the customer the easiest way to communicate with us. I think Zoom is great for communication as a team. And it's worked so far for us with customers, but we are trying to figure out how do we still do the video chat without forcing them to download one more app or one more thing on their computer. All right, we got Joey, Oakwood Homes, all the way out in South Carolina. What's going on, sir? Yes, I will email you the list of everything we need when it's all said and done. All right, Carter Smith, what is your approach for customers that may not be technologically inclined, and how do you migrate them to communication channels? I'll tell you how we were doing that prior to this. You know, we recognized that not everybody is used to some of the things we were doing, which is why 2.5 years in, we did finally open our first brick and mortar. But I think when this is all said and done, again, just thinking back to my parents would have never Zoomed or learned how to do any of that if the current situation didn't force them into it. And I don't know if we're gonna see as many people not being technologically inclined when we as a country come out of this. I think this is forcing a mass customer adoption of technology and really doing something that we hadn't seen as a society, where it's going back in time and forcing people, you know, the baby boomer generation, for instance, to have to try some of this. And I think once you try it, you know, you realize it's not as scary as you might have thought, just like remote work. And so for one, I do think we're going to see a lot more people come out of this willing to embrace, try, and learn how to communicate with technology, which I think is going to be a huge plus. I know as a business, we're very excited about that. But cell phones and text messages, again, you don't have to be a tech whiz to do that. And so that's where asking the customer and really having a open, frank discussion as to what's going to work best from them is super important. And then just adjusting that away. The mail system still works. We have had customers that chose to do it that way, and that, you know, it's slower, but it did get us as a country and as businesses to this point for 100 years. So it is effective. So asking them, doing whatever they think they need from you as a business to help them out. And then also realizing that there's going to be a lot more people that like and know how to do this stuff when we come out of this. All right, CRM is customer relationship management, I believe. And basically it's a platform. There's dozens of them out there. Salesforce is definitely the biggest. It's also really expensive, and you almost need a master's in Salesforce to set it up. But it's basically a way to track customers, customer touch points, customer you know, information like email, phone number, that sort of stuff, and then track them through the process to make sure you don't drop the ball as a customer. All right. What advice do you have for bridging the digital divide when the majority of your clients may not have access to a computer or internet? Man, Marlon, you got all the good questions that I don't have answers for. But I think a lot of good is going to come out of this when we finally come out of it as a community. And I think the digital divide was a problem before this. That we've been fortunate in San Antonio to have a lot of coverage and eyes pointing towards that problem. But I think that problem is going to be more exposed as a result of this. And everybody on this call is extremely fortunate that we have access to internet to be able to do this. In our line of work, we help a lot of families that don't all have access to internet. And so we deal with this problem on a day-to-day basis, which again is where we go back to asking the customer what they need and then providing that. I think just about everybody these days at least has access to a phone to be able to call and text. And then prior to this, we would have folks who, if they just really needed internet, would use it at their jobs or their library. That's not an option at this point. And so, some of it's going to have to be some thinking on your toes, thinking on your feet, and adapting to how we make the most out of what we all have in our pocket, that the cell phones can just do so much. So I think part of it's getting creative on that front. All right, scrolling down, is it easy? It's easy to get distracted while working remote. How do you hold yourself and your team accountable for completion of tasks without constantly checking in? So I think part of that is how do you find the right people that won't get distracted? And so for us, it's being very intentional on bringing people into our team that have a high degree of self-discipline. If myself or my brother have to be the ones to motivate or hold people's hands, we don't want that on our team. But even for the most disciplined individual, it is 100% easy to get distracted. And I think part of that, when I've got 4 kids, when my 5-year-old wants me to get up and dance with her for a couple of minutes, part of that and not burning out is taking that couple minutes and allowing that distraction to brighten your day. When there are times where we just need to hunker in, settle down, for me, it's a headset, and I just like to listen to cello music to kind of calm my mind and keep me focused. But I think that answer is going to be different for everybody. Just like we all learn differently, we all stay focused differently. And so figuring out and learning who you are as a person, as an individual, and then encouraging your team to do the same, and then identifying what works best for you and for them, and more importantly, giving your team the freedom to do that, I think is very, very important. All right, team 1053, our business is traditional face-to-face. How do we get our customers converted to start the sales process digitally? We're just in very interesting times right now. There may very well not be another option for your customers. So, as business owners, we aren't the only ones stuck at home. A lot of our customers are too. And people still are buying stuff. If you look at the e-commerce numbers, those have actually gone up, not down. And but every business is different. I don't know the specifics. If you can put a little more in the comment section, maybe I can give you a little more on the specifics of how I might do it if I were in your shoes. But I really think we're all in a situation where there isn't an option at this point for you or for the customer. So I would first start with engaging with them, building that relationship, whether it's on Facebook Live or a call or a text, and figuring out what they need from you and then trying to deliver it. All right, Lawrence, Zoho. Sounds like Zoho's another good CRM. I haven't checked that out, but there's a ton of them out there, and there's a lot of good ones. I think we as a team went through 6 of them before we decided on the one we went. And a lot of that was just the personal preferences for our sales team and what they felt would make them productive. But I definitely wouldn't suggest you just go use Salesforce, because that's what works for us. Look at what your business needs, what your customers need, and then check out a few of them and see what's the best one for y'all. All right, G-MEMS. A lot of these customers are see, feel, touch buyers. What's your way to get them to cross that bridge and complete the buying process without ever walking the product? So again, G, I don't know what it is you're selling. We do have several folks from our industry on here. So if for us, I'll tell you how we did it. A home is a massive purchase. It's a giant product that a lot of people want to see, touch, and feel. And again, you know, starting this off, we kind of thought we were crazy too for trying to help people that never met us or saw the home. But I think the relationship is where you get past that. If you are able, regardless of what it is you're selling, regardless of what business you're in, if you're able to establish trust, then you're able to get around and get past a lot of that. In the home industry, there are videos that allow you to fully walk through a home online. Everybody's had them, and everybody's had them for 5 years. We decided to use them a little differently. You know, so sometimes we may walk people through doing a Zoom call and screen sharing. And other times we may send them the link and let them walk through it, and they call us later. So I think establishing trust with whoever your buyer is, whatever it is you're selling, is step number one. Figuring out through the tools and the experience you are providing, how is that customer focused first? How does that make the customer's life easier before looking at how it makes our life easier? And then again, engaging with your customer to ask them what they need from you and letting them tell you how to move and what you as a team need to do. All right, oops, scroll down too far. Ian, what kind of hours are you guys looking at with lockdowns and curfews being in place? So for us, you know, we're a new home construction. Our industry was on the list of businesses that could continue to operate as normal. For us as a business, we chose to go remote actually a week prior to that. We have made the decision to continue to stay remote, continue to keep our physical dealerships closed. And for us, we're just very fortunate we had the luxury of doing that. We're a remote first team. We don't meet a lot of our customers face to face anyway. And so it just, for us, was the right decision to protect our family, our team members, and of course, our customers. I think that question is going to be specific to every business and what makes sense for you guys. But one thing I know we did as a team is we looked at what hours make sense for our customers, and then we went that direction. All right, Henry, do you have a target percentage of leads that you expect your team to achieve through virtual face-to-face contact? I don't specifically. I'm sure we could find that if we looked into it. But it's a lot, I'd tell you that much. And it's a lot of texts, it's a lot of calls. So it's not a focus on one form of communication versus the other. I can't emphasize it enough. It is all about asking the customer what they want and then giving them that. All right, team 1053 Clayton Homes. All right, so let me scroll up and see what your question was. Maybe I can give you a little more insight. All right, so face-to-face, a lot of customers want to physically start, or how do we convert customers that want to do it face-to-face to start digitally? You know, people just don't have a choice at this point. So I don't know. I don't know 100% that answer. We're kind of figuring that out as we go now. But if you've already established relationships with folks, then it may be as simple as having your sales team pick up the phone, call them. Hey, here's where we're at as a country. We can still help you. Here's how. And what do you as a customer need from us to help make this home purchase easier and enjoyable for you, if it's even the right time for them. And I think both your company and ours are in this for the long haul, and this might just not be the right time for folks. So I think we're still figuring that out along with you. And, you know, I got your email there, happy to reach out and let you know, or set up a separate call and share what we've learned along the way. You know, maybe a week from now, we'll know a little bit more on that. Frank, what's cooking, Frank? Clayton Homes, South Carolina. What is the key to getting customers to call you and not just send you an email or web contact? Well, I think first, do we want them to call us at this point in time, or can we give them the info they need via email or web contact to continue doing the shopping on their own, which is what I think as a society we all wanted prior to this. Can we give them that information and then maybe set up a time to follow up via email to see if they've got questions after that? It looks like we've got a lot of folks from the affordable housing industry on here. And I think one thing we've all got to remember, especially if we're trying to adapt to this, even before we were all locked down at our houses, customers were very quickly moving to the point where they didn't have to and didn't want to engage with us as salespeople. So we have to accept that. I've been in sales for over a decade. And I don't even like to deal with salespeople if I don't have to, right? Amazon, you know, HEB, curbside pickup, all of that was built well before COVID-19 locked us down, and was changing customer preferences a long time ago. I think that's only going to get accelerated in the current situation. And so we've got to figure out, as businesses, and then specifically in our industry, how do we help people answer their questions without having to talk to us? And again, that is something we are actively trying to figure out every day. We're constantly changing and doing things to try. And I don't have a great answer on that, other than to think about it, Frank, and think, do they really want to talk to us at this point, or do we want them to? And I think, you know, the answer is usually they don't want to talk to us, right? So how do we give them that information freely and allow them to make that decision on their own, and then be there to facilitate the purchase whenever they're ready? All right. Whew, that's a lot of questions. Anything else? I'm gonna give my contact info to Matt so he can get that out to the people that signed up for eBright. Email and phone is fine, but at full disclosure, we're knee deep in this with everybody else. So definitely trying to help my team first and foremost. But I will happily set aside some time, maybe on a weekend or whatnot, where we can connect individually and maybe spend quick 15-20 minutes diving into anything else you guys might have. I imagine Geekdom is still going to be facilitating Mentor Week like they always have. Matt, if you don't already have me on that one, I'm happy to sign up and do some Zoom mentor calls for Mentor Week with Geekdom for this month or next, whenever y'all do that. All right, Magnolia Estates in Mississippi. We got the whole country on here. That is awesome. Thank you very much. No problem. All right. What is the typical amount from Henry? What is the typical amount of touches it takes with a customer using all forms to get to the point where they trust you? I don't think there's a typical. Every human being is different. I've got 4 kids, and they're all unique and different. So I know I keep going back to it, but I just can't emphasize this enough. It really comes down to asking the customer, asking the individual what they want, and then in turn delivering that. We may have time, going back to Frank's question and kind of this one, Henry, where, you know, we may email somebody for 6 months. And if that's what they need and that's what it takes, and that's what we do, right? So I don't know if there's not a typical, because everybody's different, and your response and what you deliver to a customer needs to be as individually tailored as anything else is for that person. What's cooking, Tony? Thank you, sir. Got North Carolina on here. That's awesome. All right. Any other questions, y'all, before we get off the call and get back to leading the way for our teams? All right. I'll just end with this. If there aren't any other questions, you know, if remote is new to you, give it a week. You're gonna figure it out. It's actually a lot of fun. I think if you stay open-minded, you will be surprised by the level of productivity that that goes through the roof on your team and you individually. So the sky is not falling. We're all going to get through this together. I think it's super, super important that we all try to embrace remote work so that we can, you know, give our healthcare workers a chance to do what they do best and just slow this all down. But we are going to come out of this. We will all get back to some semblance of a normal reality. But even if your business decides to go back to business as usual, when this is all said and done, I strongly, strongly encourage you to figure out some of the lessons you're being forced to learn now and how do you incorporate that into the way you were doing it previously. Because we are going to see a mass customer adoption of different tools, different remote scenarios where schools, churches, everything's being done remotely now. And I think after a month of doing this, we as a society learn it's not that scary and it's kind of fun. And I think that may drive the future of commerce and business when this is all over. So Matt will have my info. Happy to set up some individual times to talk through the specifics of your certain business and scenario and dive in more where we can, and look forward to seeing what the rest of the members of our community have to say when they do their sessions. So super proud to be part of the San Antonio Tech District, the Geekdom community. I think you guys, there's so many people that are just shining. Just a schedule of what's coming up next. Some of the upcoming Geekdom workshops. We've got Michael Gurley's going to be doing an Ask Me Anything tomorrow, focused on, well, anything you want to ask them, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks, founders out there trying to figure out what does the fundraising scene look like in this scenario. And that's definitely not something I know about. So that'll be a good one if that's where you find yourself. Crystal Darby is also doing a resource for entrepreneurs, a list of things the SBA and different things the county's doing. The Bear County partnered up with Lift Fund. There's going to be a lot of things coming at you to help you as a founder, as a small business. And Crystal's 100% the go-to on that one. So appreciate you doing that, Miss Crystal. Wish I could give you a big old hug. And then mentor hours with Nick Longo are up and running. There's a link you can sign up for that. He's doing those remotely as well. Nick has been a tremendous resource over the last few years for us. Other things happening in the community. There's going to be a new view on your career, free resource to help you learn and grow during COVID-19, hosted by Dax. And that's going to be today, I believe, at 2:30. And then Miss Iris is doing an Ask Me Anything tomorrow as well, what entrepreneurs can do during a pandemic. And aside from covering a lot of us founders in her writings, she has a background in exactly what we are going through as a country and as business owners right now. So I know I'm excited to tune into that. Tommy and Joyce and Iris put together the Startups Surviving COVID-19 Facebook group. So I definitely joined that. A lot of good information, and just I think one of the things we're all missing from Geekdom right now is that social interaction and bumping into each other. So they're even talking about doing a virtual Fermented Friday. So tune in to that one, sign up for that on Facebook if you just want to be part of the community and miss what your friends are up to. And then some other resources. There are free tools and resources for startups, courtesy of Startup San Antonio on Miss Iris's website. And then Geekdom also has some resources to help members stay productive, entertained, and healthy. And we're going to add the cheat sheet that Marlon asked for. And if you've got anything you need from Geekdom, in regards to these events or questions, Matthew's going to be your go-to. His email is matthew@geekdom.com. So I miss you guys. We will see each other downtown when we all get past this, and we'll all get through it together. Hope y'all have a good one.